Welcome to Connie Martinson Talks Books. Can a nice Jewish girl from Los Angeles find happiness being a Gulliver in the middle of Japan? Not knowing the language, not really knowing the new husband. Well, this is a book called Japan Took the J.A.P. Jap out of me by Lisa Fineberg Cook. It's published by Simon & Schuster. It's also a memoir. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you.
You arrived there, and as you say, you were everybody. I mean, you are a very tall, athletic American woman, and it was like you were Gulliver.
Yeah. Yes, in a way, I think so. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you were married how long before you left?
6 days.
6 days.
Yeah.
The plane arrives, and the luggage arrives,
Yeah.
and you're going there because your husband Peter is going to be teaching
Right.
in a school.
Yeah.
Where are you located?
In Nagoya, which is about 2 hours south of Tokyo,
Yeah.
by bullet train, by Shinkansen.
And you are taken by the school administrators to the so-called the very best apartment.
Yes.
Describe it for our friends.
Well, we arrived at night in the summer, and it was incredibly hot and humid, which was something I was not prepared for. Completely naive, but there it is. And I was overwhelmed by the odors in the air and the heat, and we got into a taxi, and of course everybody drives on the right side, so the passengers are on the left. And I was kind of very disoriented, and I was in a taxi with all my bags because there were so many of them that I had to ride separately, and my husband had to ride in a different taxi with the officials. Yeah. So we get to the building, and we pull up in the back, and there's dumpsters, trash cans, and it's an empty parking lot, and there's no lights. It was very, you know...
And what floor were you on?
We were on the 3rd floor.
Uh-huh.
So, and it's little, you know, rickety kind of stairway, and a small metal door. Your apartment door was metal, mine was green. And we walked in, and literally one hanging light bulb, you know, like the swinging hanging light bulb with no lampshade or anything, and a mint green telephone on the floor, and one table, little tiny, like a card table almost, and 2 chairs.
And a futon in the bedroom?
And well, actually, no, we had a real bed, but it was, I wouldn't even call it a double. I would almost call it like a big twin.
Oh.
And it was the prior teacher's bed, as it turns out.
But you do have a washing machine. And this becomes almost a cause célèbre with the school. Because it isn't working.
Right.
And no dryer. You had to go to the balcony and hang it out. Now I know why you'd go through certain towns.
Right.
And there's a laundry out on the wall.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how everybody pretty much dries their clothes.
Now, when you wanted to get a little upgrade to the, it became, the organization came to your apartment.
Yeah, it was a very big deal to ask for a new appliance, as it turns out. And they did come, and they observed the machine, and they asked questions, and they discussed it amongst themselves, and then they left. Do you know? And it was sort of, will we or won't we get the new washing machine? And we did.
Yeah.
You know, which was, I really kind of felt released from bondage in a way.
Now, back in Los Angeles is best friend Stacy. And now, people are, you know, in America, your best friend, you talk every day, and they know every bit of you.
Right. It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was really challenging to be away from her,
Yeah.
to be away from my life in LA and all of the things that were familiar and made me feel comfortable.
Yeah.
You know, and I wasn't able to talk to her every day. And, you know, there were times where I'd want to call her and say, I can't believe this.
I got to
What
get
am I
out.
doing? Right. And sometimes,
Yeah.
you know, we were able to talk a lot, but, you know, you're on two different time zones and
Yeah.
you're actually a day apart, you know, because of the time difference. And
Describe Peter.
physically or character?
The total picture.
He is, first and foremost, he is probably one of the funniest people I've ever met. And his humor is really the thing that bonds me to him even now after all this time. We just laugh every day. And he's incredibly smart. And he reads so much. And he's very wise to ways of the world and cultures, and he loves to travel. He's traveled all over the world.
Yeah.
And, you know, but he's very, in some ways he's very provincial because he grew up in small town Massachusetts. You know, his mother was from a very traditional Italian Catholic family, and his father, you know, was in the Army and kind of small town Massachusetts phone company, you know, his entire life, his entire adult life, when he got discharged.
So that when you are taking a vacation to Kobe,
To Kyoto, you mean?
to have the Kobe beef?
Yeah, that was in Kyoto. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was kind of like, well, what does it matter if we can't really pay for it? Let's use the credit card, and this way we'll remember it forever. And he was going, no, that's not how you do things, you know? You
Yeah.
have to be responsible about your money and the
And
choices
yet
you-
later he recants from that position.
He does, yeah. Yeah.
And he said, you were right. There are times in life.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. So, you know, and he maintains that to this day. I mean, he's a very kind of responsible, practical person in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But, you know, he also recognizes that sometimes you just sort of, splurging is good.
Yeah.
You know, a little J.A.P is good for everybody.
Now, eventually, there's a Mrs. Sato,
Yes. Miss
who
Hunt.
was really like your fairy godmother
Yes. Oh, yes.
there. What did she help you do?
Well, you know what? Aside from the fact that she was not Americanized, that's a wrong term, but she had traveled a lot as well. She'd been to America. She understood the cross-cultural isms, do you know?
Yeah.
So I was able to talk to her without worrying that I was offending her or what was appropriate or inappropriate. So just on that level, I felt much more comfortable being around her. And she kind of took me under her wing. She got me a job.
Ah.
Yeah.
How did she get you the job?
Well, you know what? She knew someone who was a teacher at the school that I ended up teaching at.
A girls' school?
Yes, a girls' private high school.
Yeah.
And she called me and said, you know, there's an opening for another English-speaking teacher, so you should go and
Yeah.
interview.
You said it was a little hard teaching to make it interesting, that
Yeah.
they were all so proper and so rigid
Yeah.
about their answers. How did you finally break through?
Well, I wasn't able to do it with the larger classes where there were upwards of 45 students in the class. But I did have a senior seminar class which was much smaller, and it was just young girls who were really kind of majoring in English. And with them, I was able to kind of break out of the mold a bit. We talked about poetry. I would play them songs, you know, from popular American